No, Russia certainly underestimated the solidarity, as you said, of Ukraine. I myself am guilty of that too. When I was sitting in class when Russia declared war, we thought Ukraine would probably fall within a few weeks at most. But it goes back to this concept of the paradoxes of war, which I recently heard in a online class, which is in times of peril, it's when communities actually come together and stand the strongest. Now, picking your brain a bit with your expertise on history and the situation that the conflict is in now with Russia having taken over some parts like Luhansk, what is the projected situation? Is there a resolution in the near future? Judging by history, of course, this is still speculation and no one can know for sure.
Of course, now it's a kind of lose-lose option, both for Russia and Ukraine. Now we're in a kind of dead end, both politically and military. Russia is not able to take control over whole Ukraine as it was initially planned. Ukraine at this moment is not able to regain their territories. So Ukraine at this point is able only to defend their territories. And Russia's task at this moment, that the strategy changed. The initial strategy, Russia's strategy, was to take control over all Ukraine. Now it is obvious that it's impossible. So they changed the strategy, and they now focus on the establishing control over Luhansk and Donetsk regions, and on keeping control of the territories they already occupied, the Khersonska region and part of Zaporizhia region. So to Ukraine now it is, the major task is to first not to allow Putin to establish full control over Donetsk Oblast, and probably to regain part of Zaporizhia and Khersonska regions. So, and this is very complicated because both sides now quite exhausted, and both sides changed tactics, and both sides, in fact, I would say tired of this. Unfortunately, Russia has much more resources, and they have much more opportunities to refuel the tanks, and now they will concentrate on Donetsk Oblast. In the broader or longer prospect, probably they would be able to establish control over Donetsk Oblast, and if they would, it will be done by extremely high price, and then they probably would declare kind of a referendum there, and then this referendum will ask Russia to accept Donetsk and Luhansk regions to Russia as a part of the state, Russian state, and this would change the situation in terms of politics and military strategy. Then, if Ukraine would try to take these territories back, then Russia will present it as an attack on Russian territory. And then there will be another quality of this war. And then the level of manipulation and level of radicalization of rhetorics and actions would be much higher. And probably the same scenario would be played for Kherson and part of Zaporizhia regions, that they also would organize a kind of false referendum there, and they also will ask Russia to take them as a part of Russian state, and then the same scenario would be there. This is for Russian side. For Ukraine, of course, the only possible scenario is to take back territories which Ukraine would be able to take back. At this moment, Ukraine cannot do this technically and military because of the lack of resources. And then to go to the further negotiations. And there is a third part in this conflict, in this war, is the West, or collective West, which is in fact not a single entity. There are different visions and prospects there and different approaches to this. And I see the tendency in the part of the West to push Ukraine to the negotiations and to push Ukraine to recognize the occupation of Luhansk and Donetsk. So it will, I think that it will last for a long time. And that there will be more and more ruin in the areas of the war.